have 3 questions for you before you can come in. Have you been with anybody who has any symptoms of COVID-19 in the past week?
No.
Do you have a cold right now?
No, ma'am.
You have not traveled to any of our islands with COVID for the past week?
No, I have not.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll have you come in now.
And now I would have to take your temperature before you come in. You would have to sign in for me. You would give me your name, your address, your contact information, and the time that you came in.
The COVID-19 pandemic has dealt a heavy blow to the world, seeing several sectors of society struggling to return to some sense of normalcy. Almost 2 years in, St. Lucia continues to manage, with the tourism and manufacturing sectors reopening slowly, while the education sector continues to grapple, seeing the closing and reopening of schools several times throughout the academic year. While secondary and primary schools may remain closed as a safety measure to mitigate against the spread of the highly contagious virus, early childhood centers, however, are the only learning institutions which remain open across the island and represent a beacon of hope and optimism in these times of uncertainty. Many factors contribute to preschools and daycare centers being open. However, it's a story of resilience and collaboration. It's a story of private citizens working hand in hand with government officials to achieve the greatest outcome, helping restore normalcy for children and recouping livelihoods.
Well, like for most of the world, it has been a very challenging time, particularly for our early childhood operators, specifically because most of our centers are privately owned, and this is what the persons depend on for their livelihood. So 2020 was a very, very challenging year for them. As you're aware, schools were closed for the greater part of that time. And as the centers were closed, they were unable to earn anything financially. Yet, we have to commend them and say kudos to them, because within all through the challenges, they showed a lot of resilience.
Well-established protocols developed through the meticulous and collaborative efforts of several stakeholders within the early childhood sector have made it possible for toddlers and infants to be back on the school compound. Preschool administrators say implementing the protocols have been tedious, costly, but a necessary process. However, they welcomed the opportunity to work towards achieving standards to finally reopening their doors.
What we did for our center, we blocked off the yard of the school and we placed cones so parents know that there is a cutoff point. When they turn their vehicles, they do not come all the way in. When they walk in, there are sanitizing stations where they get to wash their hands, and we ask them that it's preferable that they wash their hands than they sanitize it, because then you get everything off when you wash with soap and water. So that's the preferred choice. After that is done, they would come in the center where their temperatures would be checked before they sign their children in. And after that is done, we take the children's temperature. If a child is coming from a public transportation, we would use the steamer to steam the child's clothing. And that is basically, no parent is allowed in unless it's extremely important. Any visitor who's coming in, the appointments have to be pre-arranged before they come in. We are doing no walk-ins at the moment, just to secure and just for added protection of ourselves and our children.
The protocols, as you know, is very strict. We have been able to adhere to it. It has cost us a lot to put things in place for the protocol, but what we've done is that we don't allow parents on our compound. No parents are allowed on the compound. When you come, we find out if you are COVID-free, if you have been involved with anybody, or if you've been exposed to anybody with COVID. We sanitize, we wash hands, we do all of the necessary, so that is of great importance to us. We ensure that all protocols are in place.
The St. Lucia Bureau of Standards and the Department of Environmental Health played a critical role in the development of safety and protocol plans for each and every center. Several consultations between stakeholders ensured a smooth realistic and feasible reopening.
Prior to opening, each center had to develop and complete what we called a COVID-19 response plan, where they laid out quite clearly what the guidelines would be for their specific center in relation to the various, what I would refer to as the national protocol set by the department. After that, they were inspected by the Department of Environmental Health, and if the officers found that everything was in line to the standards, then they were granted approval.
Early childhood centers provide so much more than just learning. It's a space for the holistic development of young ones, which includes socialization, expression, and play. The space of an early childhood center is quite small when compared to primary or secondary school compounds. They have fewer numbers, and the children are generally easier to manage. Science and research show that this age grouping has very low transmission rates of COVID-19.
This is where it all begins. The foundation is set between those ages, and I think it was very critical for them to be at the center during this time for face-to-face interaction, in opposed to being at home. One of the things we realized was when they came back, the behavior, it was totally different. They had forgotten the routine and the structure, and it was very difficult for the teachers to go through. They had to start over, basically, to get the children back into routine.
We are open now when everybody else is closed because, as I said, it's based on the protocols we have in place, and we are dealing with a cohort that is, in a sense, easier to manage. Our children aim to please. They do not try to be overly disruptive. They do not try to display attitudes of defiance. These young children always want to please their adults in their setting. So as long as the practitioners model the behaviors, we feel very confident that children will also model those behaviors. And the spin-off of that is they too will remind the parents of those protocols and ensure that the parents do likewise.
Despite the massive amount of work done to create and uphold protocols, there are still some challenges. Parents continue to be skeptical and numbers remain low. Administrators are also concerned about the financial fallout from being closed for quite some time and how the children themselves have been adversely affected from being away from the classroom for so long.
The parents, the only concern the parents has right now is the rise in COVID. But they are happy to send their children back at school because not many parents are doing much at home with the children, especially the single parents. It's quite a challenge for them at home with the children. So they're happy to send their children to school, but the only problem now is the rise in COVID. So we are praying that the numbers will go down and the kids will come back. We are happy that we are open at this time because, as you know, we were closed for an entire year, and it has really impacted on us. The Castries Basin has gotten the hardest hit, but we are happy that we are open now. The numbers are low because people are concerned about the rise of COVID, but we are hoping that by next month we will be able to recover a bit. I'm thankful for small mercies, but we are getting there.
We did not have many of our students return because a lot of the parents were fearful of sending their children back to school, knowing that the numbers had been increased for COVID-19, so a lot of the children were kept home. So it really, it was that was the challenge there, knowing that, of course, for the business side of of everything, we would see that there would be a downturn in finances and stuff like that. But other than that, we are still grateful. The little ones who came in, we're still happy that they came out.
We continue to ride out the pandemic as a resilient nation, continuing to work and coexist as there are many things that we can do to protect ourselves and family to help fight against the spread of COVID-19.
It has been a journey. It has been a learning experience. I think we have all come out of it stronger, more determined, more committed. We have taken the things that we learned because everything wasn't bad about this pandemic. It had us to review our operations. It had us to tighten up on things maybe we were doing and didn't necessarily think were necessary. So we made all these adjustments. So All in all, I think it has been a balanced year, and we have come out successful.
Administrators want to reassure parents that the protocols and unique aspects of the age grouping of 0 to 5 provide an opportunity for preschool to be open, and everything is being done to protect and ensure the safety of children.
I was kind of scared, like sending her back to school, but then when I saw the protocol and how they manage them, they kind of distance, I felt comfortable sending her back to school. So I think I made the right choice.
The safest place for me is the school for the children, because the protocol is in place. You can trace if anything happens. You can do your contact tracing much easier. We keep a record of the parents and the children. The daily roster is kept. Everything is in place. So I can say to the parents, it is safe to bring your children back to school. There is no issue at the school. As you can see, everything is in place. The only issue is I am hoping that the numbers will really go down and we will have the children back at school.
Many factors have contributed to the successful reopening of early childhood centers island-wide. We must celebrate the strides and progress that has been made since the onset of the pandemic as the country continues to manage, balance, and navigate between the safety and livelihoods for all.